Hey everyone, it's Synth Designer back again with another video. Today we are continuing our series on Synthwave Essentials, and we're talking all things bass. Now, I'm going to be kind of creating a standard Synthwave bass sound, and we're going to just do some experiments. I'm going to be using Diva today, but I'm also going to use Vital to show you that you can create some great sounds in different synths, and you don't necessarily need this one. But I'm going to use Diva just because I like using it. And we're just going to explore different kind of techniques and tricks that I use to kind of create slight variations in bass sounds. Now, it's going to be a pretty standard bass, but I'm going to show you how to take it to a different level in a couple of ways and hopefully kind of get some ideas for yourself and your own music through this. Just real quickly, if you're new here, please go to synthdesigner.com and you can download lots of great free presets for Serum and Vital. I hope to have a Diva Synthwave / Chillwave pack out early in 2025, but for now you can pick up some great free presets. There's no assignments required, no catch at all. If you want to support me, you can head over to my Patreon page, and for $2 a month, you get early access to these presets, and sometimes I also give out some exclusive presets there as well, all for Serum over there. But let's get into this. So we're just going to set up a quick little patch here, we're going to set up a little pattern here. So let's just do this to start. It really doesn't matter. We're going to just do like a quick 2-bar bass pattern here. And it's just meant to just get us started. I always like to just kind of get a little basic pattern going just because it just makes things a little bit easier and you don't have to be, constantly pressing buttons. So I like to go into presets here and choose a different template. Let's go with maybe this Jupe 6 I kind of like. So just right off the bat, this is the kind of default sound. Really lovely, isn't it? Well, we got a long way to go to form a nice bass. So why don't we start off here? Let's pick out a different wave shape here for both 1 and 2, and we're going to both use both oscillators. Obviously, in this preset here, we have to use this mix button. So I'm going to do one on this kind of shape we have here. This is kind of like a pulse wave. Anything with a square or pulse will be basically what we want. And then I'm going to use this as a saw wave here. So I'm going to kind of blend this in. First, let's take these both down, and we're going to take the cutoff down as well. So right now we have this pretty high up. Obviously, you could do it either way. You can put this on the piano roll lower or just take it down there. So let's just listen to it here. So you can hear this is purely the saw, and this is basically the pulse, but a mix is always nice. So we can hear it's a little bit wide, and we can take it down a notch here. Nice thing about Diva too is you can combine these as well, so you don't have to just have one or the other per oscillator. You could add more wave shapes here, and we can play around with that. Thicken it more this way. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is play with this ADSR. Now, the ADSR is a really key aspect of getting the bass right, and I'm going to show you real quickly. You want a plucky sound here. If you have a fully sustained sound, it's going to get very muddy very quickly. Doesn't sound like it now, but if you were to add elements later, it definitely would. And then the other part here is if your decay is too short, not much of a bass there all of a sudden. Even here is not very great. So we're going to turn it up. And then to make it even a little bit more of a transient sound, we're going to do basically the same with the second envelope. And we're actually going to turn the kickoff down, or the cutoff down, kickoff, and then turn the envelope up. As you can hear, it's already a different sound. It's got much more of a transient sound too. And this is one of those very easy kind of elements that you can slowly incorporate and automate as well. And of course, we can change up this pattern too. We can make it faster by simply doubling the notes. And when you do something this fast, you really want to pay attention to the ADSR again, because let's just open it up slightly here. If we had a lot more decay here, you can hear that underlying kind of grit to it that just doesn't go away essentially. But now all of a sudden, and we can play around. What if we turn it down another octave? Now we're really getting into a nice bass sound here. A real nice deep bass sound here. If we were to turn it down another octave, it's a little low here. So we're going to stick with this one. And let's just play around with some of the effects maybe here. So let's turn on the chorus. Now we're getting a nice wide sound. Again, decay is actually also something you can start to automate a little bit, just a little bit. You can really tell, like, it's a very fragile kind of element here. And we can play with some of the low pass. So this is obviously a much narrower slope, and this is a steeper slope here, not narrower. You know what I mean. But we're getting some nice sounds here. Then we can also start to think about maybe we want to shape a little bit more of this low end, and that will help if we were to turn this to a sine wave here. You can hear this much lower, right? And then we can actually just have our kind of sub bass going here with this combination of saw and pulse. Again, we got that nice kind of wide sound, and we can widen it further here by stacking more voices. You can really hear that nice deep sound now to it. Now it's all going to depend on your mix and what you want. Again, nice automation here with this cutoff. So it really kind of depends on the type of tone you want. That could be shaped by these oscillators here and the wave shapes. but also by kind of the stacking of the voices and some of these effects too. So if you want that wider sound, you get the chorus and more of the voices stacked. If you want the narrower sound, of course, you can take this off again and narrow these. So just have one stack of 4 here. You're getting a much different sound all of a sudden. And it really depends how this fits into what you're trying to achieve. There is no necessarily right or wrong answer, but of course, hopefully these gets you some ideas. I want to show you a different init preset here. This is the Jupe 60. This one's kind of cool because you can use a couple really interesting wave shapes again, and it's just a different approach, but again, I'll show you it's pretty similar in how you can execute these sounds. So default sound is this. I'm gonna turn this down, make sure it's not too loud. So pretty similar, but here are the waveforms. So we're just gonna do a standard square here. We're gonna transpose this down again. And then what we're gonna do here is kind of boost this low end. It's at 0 here, so if you were to go higher, it's going to take out some of these low end. And then we're gonna just manually kind of blend in the sub oscillator too. And we have this sawtooth working as well. This is the nice part because we can turn this off here or turn it on. You hear that grit again. We're gonna turn the cutoff down. Again, we're gonna turn our sustain down. And we're gonna eventually bring in this second envelope. So we're gonna really turn it down here. And then we're gonna blend this in. Just do a standard square. You could hear it coming in there. So a kind of a different character to it again. We're gonna up these voices again. We can even put in some noise here. So it's really got that kind of dark wave, dark synthwave type of sound to it. And we can play around with the sub as well, so not necessarily quite as harsh. And then we can even turn off the square completely and just have the sawtooth with the sub here, which gives it much more harsh sound when you add this noise in. And you can even play around, which is cool with this fine tuning a little bit. You can really play around, like just automate this. If it's by itself, obviously, playing around with that too much will change up a lot of the key. So don't mess around with that too much if there's other instruments playing, but just a little fun aspects there. So again, pretty simple here. We just kind of played around with the ADSR, making sure it kind of fits these plucks. The sawtooth and square combo is really the way you want to go. I often use the square on the sub and the sawtooth as kind of that additive higher element, and that's basically it. Now, again, we're making it wider or narrower depending on what we see fit, and we're playing with that cutoff as well. Now, I'm going to show you that you can create something very, very similar through Vital And if you have Serum, that works too. It's pretty simple again, but I just kind of wanted to give you more visual aspect to this. So if we were to get a very basic shape here and switch this over to a square, and then we're going to pitch this down. I'm going to pitch this one 2 octaves down, and then let's just start with this one 1 octave down, just to give us some variety here. And again, we're going to turn on the filter for both oscillators here. And I'm going to turn this resonance down. And then we're going to make this very plucky again. And then again, we're going to take the second envelope here and then attach it to the filter cutoff. And then we're going to play around with it here. So let's start here and maybe just make this slope a little bit bigger. And then let's see how this sounds to start. You can make it really subby here. Open it up, and again, we can just do that on the same amount as well. That saw wave is really what opens it up. That gives it that gritty texture if you want. Again, so in this situation, we can up the voices. We're getting really kind of that trancey feel to it now. Really 90s, really kind of like metallic kind of sounding too, which is nice. Turn up that drive a little bit. Again, this is a great thing to automate here. And of course, you can always change up how much the envelope is opening too. So it all gives you a kind of a different feel too. The other thing too here is you can turn up the resonance. And that kind of accentuates that frequency, right? Of course, go into the effects here, turn on the chorus. Sounds just huge here. You can turn it down. You can turn down the mix a little bit too. And where the chorus is hitting. But yeah, there's just some ideas, and you can see just visually what it's doing here with these envelopes. I was doing basically the same thing in Diva. The thing is, every synthesizer, the nice part about Diva is it has multiple ways of doing things, not just one. So that's kind of the added benefit of Diva, is that you have those kind of analog muddled oscillators that you don't get necessarily with Vital. But as you can hear with Vital, it sounds great. Again, you could create tons of different kind of variations on the same thing, right? We're essentially getting that basic synthwave rhythm to it, but we're doing so many different things just to maybe accentuate the sound here and there with some resonance. We're kind of altering with the filter, and then I kind of want to show you just kind of more in play. So I'm gonna do a quick little drum beat here, and then we're gonna kind of see how it plays all together. So I'm gonna put this pattern in here. Actually, why don't we just complete this real quick? So I'm gonna go to my piano roll here. So I just came up really quickly with this pattern here. And that to me really sounds kind of 90s-esque even. So we have kind of the best of both worlds with a synthwave and the 90s. But of course, synthwave isn't synthwave without a good little drum beat. So we're going to go to pattern 2. So I just have this very, very basic 4 on the floor beat with this open hi-hat. And what we're going to do here is just turn down this bass a little bit. And one of the most essential part of creating a bass for synthwave is getting that sidechain going. I like to use kickstart 2. Of course, use any sidechain compression technique you want. So you can hear it really opens up that space for that kick drum now. And you can hear it's got that nice sidechain to it, nice pumping effect. We could go back to Vital, play around with it more if we want. So there you have it, just a bunch of variations on the same idea, but as you can see, it could be done in multiple synths, and please don't feel like Vital and Diva are the ones that you need. Play around with different synths, whatever you have, and just test out some of those ideas. So remember, just set up a quick little plucky envelope, then a second envelope to open up your filter. Use the square or a pulse and a saw wave, play around with different combinations, and then try different voice of unison and see what you like. If you like that kind of bigger chorusy sound, or if you like that kind of more narrow sound as well. Play around with things. As you can see, I was really just kind of going with the flow here. Synthwave basses don't need to be all identical. They really have different characteristics, and make them your own whatever way you feel is best. Let me know down in the comments how you like to create your synthwave basses. What are some of the techniques you use and some of the tricks you like to employ? And I'll see you all next time.